Ladies and gentlemen, it's your man out of Japan, Jay Contra, and friend of the channel, Sean, over at our Discord, asked about the Twin Famicom, and it just so happens that I have my console here with me, and I've been playing a bunch of my Disk System games, so I'm well positioned to answer what's going on with the Twin Famicom. Is it worth buying in the year 2024? So I'm gonna change cameras around real quick, and I'm gonna give you the lowdown on what the Twin Famicom is, what the good things about it are, as well as some of the problems you might face buying a system that is very nearly 40 years old. If you're watching this video, you probably already know that the Twin Famicom was a special licensed Famicom produced by Sharp back in, I want to say 1987. This is actually one of the newer revisions. There is the first run of Twin Famicoms, I think came in red, and they came with controllers that did not have turbo buttons. What's special about this particular model of Twin Famicom, the black ones that I think come in either green or red, come with these turbo buttons on the first player, and the second player controller that you can activate. What's cool about the Twin Famicom is that to play Disk System games, all you have to do is have it set on the disk setting here, and I put it into cartridge mode or disk mode, and you don't need the RAM adapter that you needed to play with the original Famicom and with the AV Famicom. With the original Disk System, you had the Disk System itself and then the RAM adapter that you would plug into both the disk drive as well as the AV or the regular Famicom. That's not the case with the Twin Famicom. What's also really cool about the Twin Famicom is when you look at the back, two very important things. You have both a single power input. What was really annoying about the original Famicom Disk System was that you needed to have both a power adapter for the Famicom system as well as the disk drive, meaning that you needed probably like an extension cord, or you needed to find 6, I want to say C or D batteries to put into that thing to get it to work. What's also cool is you get the original sort of like Famicom looking games with using the yellow and the white composite output, the yellow for video, white for the mono output. What is kind of annoying then is that you don't get the stereo output, even though technically the Famicom is not a stereo system. You don't get the sort of the doubled mono output of the AV Famicom. And you also will experience jail bars. That's one of the things about the Famicom, the original Famicom, as well as the Twin Famicom, is that there are jail bars on the games. It's not super noticeable, but maybe for some people it can be annoying. The AV Famicom fixed that issue, and as far as I know, there are no jail bars fixed for the Twin Famicom. You're gonna have to RGB mod your system if you wanna get rid of those jail bars. Something else that you need to think about if you're thinking about buying a Twin Famicom is that the original power brick is rated for Japan's 100 volts, and I don't believe it's multi-voltage. So if you want your system to last as long as possible, you're going to need to buy an aftermarket, third-party power adapter. This is one that I think I ordered from France, from I want to say Retro Game Supply. I also bought their PC Engine Dual R power adapter, and I think it's really great. You can see here it's rated for 100 volts to 240 volts, so it'll work pretty much anywhere in the world, and there's a bunch of different plugs that you can get your power supply with. I'm not being paid to say this, I just had a really good experience with it, so I can recommend that website and their power supplies. So why wouldn't you want to buy a Twin Famicom? I talked about perhaps maybe you want the dual mono out. However, that can be fixed if you buy one of these adapters here. You can just plug the RCA cable from the mono audio into here, and then it'll split it, and then you can get your stereo audio that way. But then again, you're also spending another $8 or $10, I think, for a cable like this. I can't remember how much it was. What's also annoying about the Twin Famicom are, I think, 2 or 3 big things, if I'm remembering the number properly. See, these turbo buttons are annoying because remember, this is almost a 40-year-old system. And so what's happened is the contacts have corroded over those 40 years. And so you're going to need to take apart your controller, and using an eraser, I would recommend, to rub off the corrosion, because what will happen is even if you have these turned off, I have the turbo buttons turned off, you might find yourself playing a game, and if you need precision, like say you're playing the original Mario Brothers, or here I've got Mario Brothers 2, if you haven't cleaned off your contacts, sometimes the turbo will trigger, and because of the way the turbo works, you're going to find yourself like trying to jump, and it's not jumping because it's like constantly trying to hit that jump button. And if the game needs precise inputs, it's not going to be interpreting those jumps properly. And then you're just going to be falling to your death. So that's really annoying because these controllers are hardwired to the system. You are not, as far as I know, there's no way to plug in sort of like an NES or like an NES Advantage or some kind of external controller to this system. There may be, I think there is one of these expansion ports here can be used for I believe the Famicom Gun, as well as like if there's like the Hudson or the there are some third-party controllers that were made for the Famicom that utilize that expansion port. I know a bunch of arcade sticks that were made for the Famicom that will use that. That's really only going to be your only option. So you're not going to get a nice long cable, say if you want to sit further away from your television. So that can be very annoying. And I think the other big thing for me is, much like with the turbo buttons, the second player controller has a microphone in it. This was standard on the original Famicom as well. And this is actually how in the original Legend of Zelda, you defeated the Pole's voice really quickly, was you turned on your microphone and you just blew into the microphone, and then the Pole's voice is just obliterated. The problem with this is, just like with the turbo buttons, over 40 years, the activation switch, as well as the part on the motherboard of the PCB of this controller, the contacts have corroded, so you're gonna have to take this apart and clean it off so that you don't experience this kind of like buzzing sound. I remember the first time I turned this thing on to test it and make sure that it worked, I just heard this buzzing sound, and I was like, what's going on? Is my system fried? No, it's because the contact here had corroded, and I had to take it off and like kind of just gently, very, very, very carefully wipe away the corrosion so that they were no longer connecting, meaning that there was not that horrible buzzing sound. Other than that, I can't think of anything particularly annoying about the Twin Famicom. Something that I should note is that the disk drive that is in the Twin Famicom is identical to the disk drive that you would find in the standalone Famicom disk drive. It's really just, I think, the power board that is different, and this can affect you if you're trying to mod your system to, say, write Famicom disks if you get the Famicom disk stick. And the other cool thing is that if for whatever reason you need to buy an external Famicom disk drive, you can put the RAM adapter in here, just like you would say Ninja Gaiden, and you can run the disc games off of that external drive if, say, you don't want to screw with the internal components of this. But overall, I'm really glad that I bought the Twin Famicom when I did. Of course, something that you'll need to do, as you would with any Famicom disk system, is to replace the drive belt if you're buying it, say, from the junk section of a hard-off, or if the disk drive is being sold to you as not working, or junk as is condition. It's almost guaranteed that that rubber drive belt that was originally put in those systems back in the 1980s, those have just disintegrated over the years, and you can find some pretty cheap fixes online. Be very, very careful because of the magnetic head aligner. I had to burn through like 3 junk Famicom disk systems in order to get the one in here working, just because I didn't really know what I was doing, and a lot of the tutorials, I think, aren't super helpful. But somehow I managed to get this one to work, and it's been working for like the last 10 years for me, and I'm just waiting for the day when when it dies on me for a second time. But that's why you need to be enjoying your games now rather than hoarding them and not playing any of them, which is pretty much what I've been doing for the last 10 years. So I think the Famicom Disk System is ultimately worth it. The only real alternative I can think of, the next best solution would be to purchase an AV Famicom as well as the Disk System standalone with the RAM adapter cartridge, because I'm not a big fan of the original Famicom. I don't really care about the microphone. I don't like the hardwired controllers, and the mono audio out is annoying, but again, that's something that you can fix with this just splitter here. So I've been your man out of Japan, Jay Contra. I stream every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over at twitch.tv/jcontra. If you'd like to join the Discord and ask our cool group of Japanese game aficionados any questions about, say, the Twin Famicom, or really any retro game system, really, I will have a link where you can join the Discord in the description below. Thanks for watching. See you next time, and mahalo.